Okay, I'm back to show you additional variations in the I-cord edging, the knit-in I-cord edging. In the scarf I was working on in a previous video, I was able to do the I-cord edging in a striped pattern, which is perfect for mosaic scarves. It's very easy to just maintain the I-cord edging in your stripe, and what that does is completely close up the edges of your scarf and hide the area where you change colors. So it's a very neat way of tidying up your edges in a two-color scarf. One of the problems though, if you've got a busy pattern like this pattern, fairly busy, having a striped I-cord edge may not be the look that you're going for, and you may instead want to do a solid I-cord edge. So this video I'm going to show you how to do that. A couple variations. Here's just a tiny little sample that I've been working on in a very simple slip stitch pattern where my contrast color is just slipped every other row and every other stitch. So a very simple pattern, and I've worked my I-cord edge in just the main color. So I'll show you how to do that now in the simplest variation of that. Just like any I-cord edge, in the main color I'm going to knit the first 3 stitches, and when I get to the last 3 stitches I'm going to slip those with the working yarn in front. So I have done that, and now I'm getting ready to work contrast color row. So because I'm keeping my I-cord edge totally in my main color, I'm simply going to work my main body stitches, which are these stitches in the middle here, with my slip stitch pattern in the contrast color. I'm not going to work the I-cord stitches in the contrast color. So I'm just going to slip them purlwise and begin my pattern, which is to knit 1, slip 1 with yarn and back, knit 1, slip 1, knit 1, slip 1, knit 1. And when I get to the end of my row, again, I'm not going to work these last 3 stitches because those are my I-cord stitches that are going to remain in the main color. So I'm simply going to bring the working yarn to the front, turn, and work my pattern back. Knit 1, slip 1 with yarn in front, knit 1, slip 1 with yarn in front, knit 1, slip 1 with yarn in front, and I get to the end, and I can go ahead and slip these last 3 I-cord stitches without working them. And so you can see that's a very simple way of working my I-cord edge in the main color only. Now there's a couple of drawbacks to this technique. First of all, you'll notice when you look at the I-cord edge closely, you're going to see that not all of the stitches are the same length. Some stitches are longer and some stitches are shorter, and that's where in fact we've slipped that first row. When we're working the contrast color, we've slipped those stitches, and that creates the longer, shorter effect. So the first row of working the main color, the stitch is going to be longer. The second row, they're going to be shorter. So you get a sort of an unevenness to the stitch length in your I-cord edge. The other thing that happens, because we're not doing any wrap and turns with the contrast color, you're going to see holes along the sides of your I-cord edging. Now, that may not bother you. That may be perfectly a great effect, the effect that you're going for. If so, fine, knit on, it's knitter's choice. But if you want to close up those holes and create a more even stitch length within the I-cord edge itself, we're going to need to work some short rows and do some wraps within our contrast color. So let me show you how to do that now. In order to work our short rows, we're going to need to work 2 I-cord edge rows for every main body row of the main color yarn. So I'm just going to do that right now, and it's not that difficult. I'm going to do knit 3 like I would normally do, slip those 3 stitches back onto my left needle and knit them again. So now I've in essence done 2 rows of I-cord edging for every 1 main color row. So I'm going to work across my row in pattern, which in this pattern is just to knit across. And I'm going to get to my last stitch here of my main body, and I've got my 3 I-cord stitches left, so I'm going to slip them with yarn in front, turn my work, get a little organized here, and on this edge I need to do the same thing, work 2 rows. So I'm going to knit those 3 stitches and knit them back. So that's how you would work 2 I-cord edge rows for every 1 main or every 2 main body row. Actually, it's 2 because we're working back, but you get the idea. Okay, now I'm gonna get ready here to slip working yarn in front. Now in this case, I'm ready to now work my contrast color yarn, and I'm going to show you how to use a wrap technique that will close up the gaps. So I'm going to slip my first 3 stitches purlwise and begin my slip stitch pattern, picking up my working yarn from underneath, contrast color, knit 1, slip 1 across the row, knit 1, slip 1 all the way across, ending with a knit 1. Now I've got my 3 I-cord edge stitches here. I'm going to turn my work and just take the working yarn over the needle in my right hand, creating another loop, and work back in pattern, knit 1, slip 1 with yarn in front, all the way back across the row. And when I get to the end here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to wrap the working yarn around my needle, turn, slip my 3 stitches purlwise, I-cord edge stitches, and turn my work. Get a little more organized here. Now I'm ready to work my main color yarn. So I'm going to again do 2 rows of I-cord edging here. So I'm going to start my first row of I-cord edging by knitting 3 stitches, but when I get to that 3rd stitch, I'm going to deal with that loop, that extra loop of contrast color yarn right here that I made. Actually, unknit that stitch. So I need to essentially work these 2 stitches together. I could knit them both together normally, just a normal knit 2 together, but if I do that, you can see that the contrast color yarn is going to sit on top of my yellow main color yarn and create some white within my I-cord edging, and that's not the effect I'm going for. So instead, I'm going to, just in this stitch, knit them together through the back loop. It's going to twist the stitch, but it's going to lay that white contrast color yarn to the back of my work. Yes, I'm going to have a twisted stitch there, but I think it's a minimal effect, and you really won't notice it once you get your I-cord edge worked along the edge of the scarf. Now I'm going to go ahead and work across in pattern. Oh, no, I'm not. I forgot. I only did 1 row of I-cord edging, so I need to do a 2nd row of I-cord edging now. So I'm going to slip my 3 stitches back and work across those 3 stitches. And I tell you, this is the difficult thing to remember, for me anyway, is to work those 2 rows of I-cord edging before I go across the main body of my pattern, because I'm always in a hurry to get across the row. So make yourself slow down. Don't forget to knit those 2 rows of I-cord edging there. So now I've gotten to my last stitch here, and I've got this loop of contrast color yarn I've got to deal with. Don't work that yet. Instead, you're going to move the working yarn to the front, slip the loop and your 3 I-cord edge stitches, turn your work, and you're ready to begin your I-cord edging. Knit across 2 stitches, and now I've got my last I-cord edge stitch and that loop of contrast color yarn, and in this case I can just knit 2 together, because what that does is lay the working yarn on top, which in this case is the back, the wrong side of my work, so I don't have to worry about it showing up in the front side of my I-cord edging. Slip my stitches back so that I can work my 2nd I-cord row, knit 3 stitches, and now I'm going to carry on across the row. Work to the last stitch of my body, which is this stitch here, working yarn in front, and I'm going to go ahead and slip those 3 just so you can see what it looks like together. So now you can see my I-cord edging stitches have evened out a little bit. I've got that little twist there. I can live with that. But I'm going to have a much more even stitch length within the I-cord edge itself, and I am closing up those holes that were formed previously by doing that wrap. All right, I'll work a few more rows and come back and show you what the piece looks like. So here is my sample again. I've worked a few more rows using my wrap technique and my short row technique in the I-cord edges themselves, and you can see the effect. The stitch length within the I-cord edge is much more consistent, and I no longer have the holes on either side of my I-cord edging, so I've closed up those gaps. So this might be a technique you want to try. It's a little fiddly, but in the end it may be worth it if you don't want to have a striped I-cord edge.